歡迎收睇美國專訊。我哋嘅記者詹姆斯咧，最近喺芝加哥採訪咗一名伊拉克裔嘅美國退伍軍人。佢希望利用中東嘅美食，能夠彌合族裔之間嘅鴻溝。咁下邊係有關嘅介紹。
I grew up on Great Neck, Long Island, in my grandparents' house for the most part, with my parents who were living there as well. And my grandparents were Jews who left Iraq in 1946 and came to the United States. And so I grew up in a community that had a lot of kind of diverse representation of Jewish culture. So there were a lot of Ashkenazi Jews of Eastern European descent, but I grew up in this house where all of the Jewish food was dishes like aruk and hasha, dishes that came from Iraq, but I associated them with a certain kind of Jewish upbringing that for me was what I would come to know as being very much a part of Arab culture, and not something that was steeped in what one would think is New York Jewish traditions. I was 16 years old when Iraq invaded Kuwait. It was on the evening of the first airstrikes when my mother saw my brothers and I watching the green-tinted CNN images, and she said, you know, there's no Iraqi restaurants in New York. What she was telling me was that there was no Iraqi culture beyond oil and war that was visible in the United States. I remember approaching my mother and saying that we should do something, and that something was something as simple as teaching her Iraqi recipes as a form of resistance to this culture of war. It started out as workshops that we taught to different New York City public audiences. In Chicago, Enemy Kitchen has evolved to become a food truck. This idea that we would have not weapons of mass destruction, but weapons of mass deliciousness traveling through the city in this truck. But then the staffing of the truck, there were Iraqi refugees who were the chief chefs and American combat veterans who had come back from the war that were the sous chefs and the servers. So these fists that were holding weapons on the other side of the world are now here, and they're making kebab. And so you're taking in that kind of sculptural void as a sort of communion.
喜劇能夠帶嚟好多嘅效果，包括笑聲、眼淚，仲能夠令人如釋重負。咁下邊係記者詹姆斯嘅報道。
Laughter is so important. Laughter is medicine. Laughter is the shortest distance between two people. One of the best gifts we've ever been given. I've been doing stand-up for 15 years, so I've seen all different kinds of laughers. There's the inside laugher. They don't make any noise. They're always just like insecure, touchy laughers. They always need reassurance. They always... Did you see that? Like, yeah, I heard that. We're at the same show. Oh, the snorter, my favorite, you know. It's like such a compliment when you get a snort, except you feel bad for their spouse. You're like, dang, they're like every morning, honey. I'm like, oh my God. My dad was the pastor of a huge church, so being a preacher's kid, you're not allowed to listen to the radio, watch, you know, certain kinds of TV. So the first time my friend let me listen to Eddie Murphy, Delirious, on tape, and he's cursing and he's just making everybody laugh. I was like, wait, what is this? Preachers always said what you're supposed to say. You have to stick to the guidelines. But comedians always said what people were thinking but were afraid to say.
You know, like I was the skinniest kid. Like you could tie a string around me and I just fly away like a kite. I was so skinny. I was bullied.
Always made to feel inferior, even though they weren't even doing it on purpose. That's how I started doing comedy, because I could take away the power of that, them making fun of me, by being funny. I have kids. My last name's Kim. I really wanted my son to be a leader, so I was going to name him Martin Luther Kim. My second choice was Abraham Lin Kim, but we didn't want to put pressure, so we named him Lion. He's the Lion Kim. And you know when you do talk about your ethnicity a lot of comedians, a lot of comments, there's like, see, it's all they do, they talk about, you know, but it's because a lot of them, they don't understand what it's like to be the only one of a different color in the room. They've never felt that. When I walk onto the stage, I used to get butterflies, but I performed for so long now, I don't feel that anymore. But it's the best rush, and by far, making people laugh and helping them forget about their problems is the best drug.
Oh yeah, that's how my people do it. Thank you very much.
多謝收睇美國專訊，下次嘅節目時間再見。